Hello and welcome back to Randomly Generated Conversations. I am Bastian Sellers.
And I am Wesley Sellers. And today's topics are: what are the top 3 qualities you admire in others? Something commonly done today that people wonder why in 50 years. If you could choose the way you become a hero, what would the circumstances be?
Ooh, those
All
are all
right.
nice.
So, Bastian,
Hmm.
what are the top 3 qualities you admire in others?
Probably like the kindness is a quality, right?
Okay, yeah.
Kindness in lots of people. We think that oh, everything's bad. Sometimes we think, oh, this is bad, that is bad. But there's a lot of kind people in this world.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not just like in your own home or with your friends. You could be like at Smith's or somewhere like that, and somebody just being really kind there. If you're trying to put something away, they could help you with that if they want to.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the kindness everywhere. Another quality is probably like bravery, because I probably wouldn't be brave without like other people with me,
Okay.
because like the braver people make you brave when you're around them,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion. And feeling brave makes you feel courageous, and courageous makes you feel like you can do anything, but you can't. Um, well, you can, depending.
Well, I think courage is also knowing your limitations, right? So I don't think
Yeah.
just because somebody has courage or they're brave that they're never afraid of anything. I think some of that would then turn into stupidity
Mhm.
if they were never afraid of anything. So I think the brave and courage really, you know your limits, but yet you push past some of your fears.
Okay. And the final quality. This is gonna sound weird, but it's like love, because everybody has a little love for each other. Like everybody's super kind to like kindness. Everybody loves to be around certain people. Everybody loves to help others, even when they're joking around and being like sometimes will be mean, because there's times of that, but
Mm-hmm.
their joking around is their love towards you and telling you that, hey, I love that we're friends, or I love that you're my sibling, I love that you're my son, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just great like that.
And I like how you say that joking around because sometimes we are showing love. Because there's a difference between making fun of someone and bullying someone
Yeah.
than when you're in a group of friends and you're just there with some back and forth banter and or with siblings and you know not to take it too far, and that's how you can show your love, right?
Yeah.
Those are very good. I think one of my biggest ones is integrity,
Okay.
knowing that I can trust someone, but not just trust them, but know that I can trust them to do the right thing in hard situations.
Yeah.
It's easy for someone to be honest and outstanding in regular circumstances when everything's going right. But in those hard times, it becomes a little more difficult.
Yeah.
And to me, integrity is being able to continue to do the right things in those hard times as well. I would say another quality in others is you brought up kindness. And I think kindness is very important. Kindness, not just to friends or people they know or like,
Mm.
but showing general kindness to everyone and everything. Showing kindness to animals, showing kindness to strangers, showing kindness to those who may have wronged them. It doesn't mean you have to put yourself in situations where people are going to be wronging you, but you can still handle those situations in a way where you're not compromising your who you are, right?
Yeah.
You brought up, random people at the store and stuff, and the kindness that they have. I've had a beard for a long time, and I've also wear these. I guess you'd call them loud shirts. They just have little images and stuff on them. But I've been surprised at how many times I've been approached in a store and had somebody say, "Hey, I really like your beard," or "I wish I'd grow a beard like that." Or had them approach and say, "Hey, I love your shirt." And it takes a lot of courage for somebody to go out there and say that.
Yeah.
But just little words like that may seem insignificant to the person saying them, other than taking courage to say it, really restore faith in humanity, right?
Yeah, I thought of another time with kindness. We were doing a taste test burger challenge thing, and we were going and we were going to go pay for food, but the person in front of us, they were over here and they paid it for us. They're like, "Oh, the person in front just paid for your food." And it was so kind. So,
I remember that too, because we had gone to a couple different fast food restaurants because we were going to do a blind taste test of the different burgers and see which ones we enjoyed the most. And we got to, it was McDonald's.
okay, I was thinking that was the one, but I couldn't remember.
Yeah, we got to McDonald's, and it had the 2 lanes. And we were a little frustrated because we thought the person had kind of cut us off going into this other lane, and they seemed like they were in a hurry and everything. And we were like, what's going on with those people, right? And just being judgmental and complaining. We had already been sitting in these lines at quite a few fast food restaurants, and once you've sat in the drive-thru at about 2, you're done with sitting through a drive-thru. We get up to the window and go to pay, and they're like, "Hey, it was already paid for. It's paid for by the person in front of you." And we felt the gratitude, but also felt our heart drop to our stomach as we like, man, we were sitting here complaining, and then those people go and do an act of kindness like that to us. And definitely was an eye-opener about not judging others and not complaining about others, right?
Yeah, I think we were in the back of the car just playing like rock, paper, scissors the entire time because we didn't have anything to do.
Right? You and your siblings. And so integrity, kindness, and I would say humor. So I really like being around people that have a sense of humor. And that's twofold. People who will make me laugh, and people who, even out of just courtesy, will laugh at my jokes. I'm a very sarcastic, very dry humor person. Some people don't know how to take me sometimes. So getting that little courtesy laugh sometimes can break the awkward silence of me saying something and being like, wait a minute, did I cross any lines here? Do they understand that I'm not being serious?
Oh, I know a couple people like that. I know a couple people where they'll be like, they have like the most like sarcastic, sort of dryish humor like you have. And they'll make some sort of joke, but then it'll be awkward silence as if like something had happened. But we'll like laugh eventually because when we realize what actually was said and nothing was broken, no lines were crossed.
I always think about it afterwards, but I need just a quick button on my phone where I got a cricket sound going on. And that way, once I have like, 3 or 4 seconds waiting, I could just hit the cricket sound. It's like chirp, 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 chirp.
That'll be funny.
All right. So what is something commonly done today that people will wonder why in 50 years? TikTok.
That's what I was gonna do.
I know that's what you were gonna say.
That was really loud. I'm sorry. I was gonna say TikTok also, because a lot of TikTok challenges and stuff. In 50 years, we're gonna be like, "Hey, what was this dumb app over here?"
What were these people thinking? They're gonna think that
Yeah.
they've evolved a lot since that time, or we're going the opposite direction, and they'll have much dumber things in 50 years. We'll see.
Why were we doing stuff that was not that dumb? Now we're doing dumber things, and it's so funny. No, in 50 years,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be old.
Yeah, so will I.
I don't want to think about that.
In 50 years, I was gonna say I wouldn't be alive, but I really could be.
There's a chance.
I mean, I'd only be like 90.
I mean, that is true, but here's the thing I realized. Back in the olden days,
Back when I was a kid.
people didn't survive that long. So, something I learned in one of my history class, they wouldn't even name their children until they've survived at least, like, I don't remember how many years, but if they survive that many years, then they'll name their children. Because nobody would survive past, like, a certain age.
That's kind of sad.
But nowadays, we can survive to up to 100 years old. And there's a lot of people that are doing it. So 50 years from now, we might find a way to be able to survive to at least like 150, like 200 years. Maybe not possible, maybe possible.
Mm-hmm.
We don't ever know because that's 50 years down the road. We currently, with technology-wise, wouldn't be able to do that. We are thinking currently not 50 years down the road. We're thinking like a couple years in the future. That's what most people do. We think a couple years in the future, and that's how great inventions were made. Maybe in the future they might have light bulbs, or in the future they'll have certain things like electricity. Oh, let's go and try to harness something like this, get electricity. Let's go and do this. Let's get light bulbs. They think a couple years in the future that eventually a couple years in the future, or after a little bit after that, they start to question and try to build off that.
And I don't think you made it a little too simplistic. I don't think they actually think, hey, let's harness this or let's get light bulbs. They didn't even have the name for light bulbs at the time, but
let's get blinky thing to light room.
Let's have lights inside the house that aren't
candles,
that aren't fire. Like, that would be the idea, and then they'd build the technology off of that, right? A lot of ideas came from science fiction, right? Things that we had read or seen in science fiction movies. We're like, oh, that'd be cool, and then people start working on it. I'm still waiting for flying cars and hoverboards.
You want flying cars? Imagine the pollution. Like, it was quicker in the sky, and how much traffic will be in the air.
Pollutionless flying cars. But yes, air congestion, it's already an issue with all the planes and the air traffic controllers that have to deal with all the...
But that'll make the freeways free. I mean, you just go down the freeway and it's like, just cruising down. Everybody's in their flying cars. You have one of these older cars from like 50 years ago.
They'd probably be illegal by that time.
Illegal? I'm just going to drive it anyway. It's my antique car. You can't tell me what to do.
So, breaking off a little bit, you talked about a freeway, right?
Mm-hmm.
How is it we have tolls on a freeway? It's not supposed to cost anything. It's free.
That's true.
But now I have like 2 cents a mile, or not 2 cents, $2 a mile to drive in that toll lane. It's not a freeway. Then it should be called a costway.
It should be called a Costco. I'm just kidding. No. Yeah, they should call it a costway. But I was thinking back to me driving my car on the freeway. They're gonna have air police. They're gonna have people like police officers in the air. They're gonna have police officers on the ground, but not that many people are gonna want that job when they can be flying in a flying car. You could be driving your antique car, no one's gonna stop you. I mean, I could drive a Model T in 50 years. That's not gonna be possible, because unless people have Model Ts right now. Certain people do, I think. Anyway,
Well, I think if we had flying cars,
we should be flying.
I would assume it would be hovering a certain distance off the ground. You get too high, and then a wreck is definitely, it's already dangerous when we're on the ground. Now imagine those speeds are higher in the air, and then you still have to go down from there. So I don't imagine we would be that much higher than we are now,
That's
right?
true. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang was something that I just got reminded of with that.
Mm-hmm. It could turn to a boat, or it could fly, right? I'm still waiting for a bed that I could fly on. There was a movie, Bedknobs and Broomsticks, that I watched as a kid. They kind of mixed the live with the cartoon there, but they were able to travel places like even under the sea on the bed. They would turn the knob however many directions and tap on it.
Turn
and they would go
under the sea. Turn. There's nothing here.
You had
Just a
nothing else
blank-
to go from there. You just wanted to sing Under the Sea, right?
Yep. No, but I think
Alright.
that'd be cool.
So things commonly done today that in 50 years they would wonder why. I mean, if we think about payment in the past, right? So I remember going to the store and my mom writing checks all the time. It was
checks.
Very rare that she would take out a card and pay with a card. So she would write checks, and now, not even 50 years in the future, I'm like, well, that was kind of silly. All it was is a check is basically just like a promissory note. Hey, I promise you that the bank is going to give you this money. That's what a check is. And now I'm like, well, that was kind of silly. You could have either dealt with cash, but then you have to carry cash around on you and it's easily stolen. But as a card, I'm like, well, that makes so much more sense. But now with cards, I just walk up and I just tap. And people will even pay with their phones nowadays. I'm not quite that technologically advanced yet.
They would pay with their phones, so they give the person the phone, here, take this, and I'll take the rest of this stuff. Thank you.
No, but they have like Apple Pay or whatever, where they're just like, it's like a tap, but they tap with their phone.
The Wallet app and stuff like that.
Right. And so maybe 50 years from now, the idea of taking out a card and tapping it against a screen to pay for something is going to seem really silly. And they're going to be like, man, that was such a funny way that he used to pay. It used to take so much time for him to tap that card against a screen, because they'll be using the chip that's inside you or inside your required phone or whatever. And you just walk through the line and it automatically charges you for everything on your person, and you head out the door.
And if you have a negative balance, you get a shock through your body, and it's like, okay, you better pay, or we're just gonna keep giving you these tiny little shocks, these little shivers.
Right? That's how the bank controls payment on your.
Oh, he's been 10 months. He hasn't paid it back. He hasn't gotten money in 10 months, and he owes a lot. Buddy, here's another shock.
That would be quite interesting. I have no words.
I know, it'd be weird. Because you know, like those things where people would like do the shock pens and stuff like that? It will feel like that. But like it's each day at a certain time. The time that you spent the last of your money, and if you don't get any back, the time you spent last of your money, they'll zap. Like at the exact same time, saying, hey, this is the time you paid. And then if you don't pay it back, then everything's going to go up in price, though, in my opinion, in the next 50 years. Eggs are going to be like $100, and it's going to be like $100 for not even a carton of eggs, and we're just going to be there.
But that's inflation, right? I mean, if we look at the price of stuff 50 years ago, it will go up, but the worth and everything based off of what we have is going to stay the same anyway. So even though it's $100 then, it could be the same as the $5 it is today, or $7, or I mean, it fluctuates all the time.
They're gonna laugh. They're gonna laugh. How they used to have to pay only like $1 or something like that. Like not $1. $7 for this thing. That's kind of funny.
Right?
Yeah.
We see some of those old menus and we're like, what? 25 cents for a hamburger?
Yeah.
All right. So moving on. If you could choose the way you become a hero, what would be the circumstances be? So I take this as either two ways. Like, how do you become a superhero, right? Or to be a hero actually like saving somebody's life or saving something or doing something for somebody, what would those circumstances be?
I'm gonna do superhero. So
Okay.
I'll let you go first because I'll let you choose what you do.
No. I want to hear.
What are you gonna do though? Okay, I'll learn after this then.
Mm-hmm.
I would say I would like be walking across something and this like train of like toxic I don't know what would be coming, and then all of a sudden it tries to skid to a stop, like because they're going, and part of that dumps out. And I'm just there because at the same time it's gonna be snowing, okay?
Okay.
I'm just there opening my mouth because there's snowflakes, and some of that just comes and goes straight down my throat, and I'm like, this does not feel well. And then I sneeze, and the floor starts to dissolve.
Wow, that's your superpower?
Acid boogers.
Acid. Wow.
Because I think that'd be like very powerful. Because then if you like need to sneeze, you just get like a little feather, like as if because this would be like if we had like our own little cartoon. Let's just go with that cartoon.
Okay.
Little feather on the nose. You sneeze and you're just burning through. You could be a supervillain too. You sneeze and you burn the vault down.
But what happens if you get a cold?
If you get a cold, you just keep sneezing. So we need like these tissues that protect against that.
Sneeze-proof tissues or acid-proof tissues.
Buy them today at your local Mart Wall.
I would be heading out to go buy the milk, and I would get abducted by an alien.
Weird question where you were.
I would return 5 years later with the milk. But while I'm abducted by an alien, they're testing these elixirs and potions on me. And some of them make it so I can turn invisible and fly. And so all these elixirs give me these special powers. And they train me to fight in this alien arena against all these crazy space creatures, right? And once I'm declared the champion, I get my freedom, and that's 5 years from there. And they're like, we'll give you anything you want because you're the winner, along with your freedom, and I'll say a gallon of milk. And I'll show up 5 years later with the gallon of milk and all these powers.
And I'll be out of the house by then.
No, you won't. You're living here till you're 40.
No.
Just kidding.
Hey, Dad. Yes.
I brought the milk. Anyway, so go get some milk, come back, and eat some cereal.
Yum.
Thank you for joining us. And join us next time.
Thank you.